Publishing is one of the best ways to get your ideas across. I'm interested in experimenting with the format of zines and books. I find it to be a very good way to get those ideas to an audience that maybe is looking at books in a very certain way, like paperbacks or something, and then they're challenged by this object that's in front of them. It's a book, but wait, it's doing something that's not quite like a book. My name is Wilk, and I'm an artist, a designer, and printer publisher. I run Moniker Press, which is a Risograph print and publishing studio in Vancouver. When I was a kid, I had a challenging time learning to read, mostly because I was very enthralled with the pictures. My teachers actually would take me out of class to get me to focus on learning how to read and write. In doing that, I all of a sudden kind of switched gears and became obsessed with reading and words and writing. My first print class ever was at Emily Carr. I quickly became infatuated with print and reproducing the same image. There was one project where we had to produce 10 copies, and I ended up with maybe 50 because I was just so into making different colors and layers, and I guess I got a bit obsessed with it, and the action of printing it I just found really mesmerizing. The inside of the Risograph printer is what makes it unique from a photocopier. This particular printer has 2 ink drums inside, and they come out. There is a thermal head unit that burns tiny little holes into the master sheet, which is this piece here. And the master sheet gets wrapped around the ink drum, and then the ink gets pushed through the holes as the paper is running flat through the machine. Getting into risograph printing sort of happened by accident. I was working with my studio mate at the time, Shannon Higgins, on a book project, and I found that buying a printer myself was going to cost us less. I bought a printer. Long story short, it wasn't necessarily the cheapest way in terms of time or energy, but it started Moniker Press, so in the end it was good. Risograph printing was invented by a Japanese company in the 1980s. It has color restrictions, so I currently only have 4 colors, so those are the colors that I have to work within. It has a size restriction, so you can only print 11 by 17. Misregistration is when you're layering 2 colors over top of each other and they don't line up properly. So my printer will print everything slightly crooked and off, which is part of its charm. My favorite part about risograph printing is that it is very forgiving of an experimental approach. So it allows you to play with misregistration or different ways of layering color. I guess working within those restrictions is interesting to me. For the Trees is a collaborative book project that I did with Sarah Davidson and Brynn McNab. I wanted to experiment with those colors by overlaying them and basically getting as many color variations as possible. So that meant deconstructing Sarah's work even further to the point where it became its own work in the format of the book. The imagery follows the essay that Brynn wrote. The colors in the book go through in a way that corresponds with the essay.
That's really good. I'm Sylvana D'Angelo. I'm an artist and designer.
Yeah, if this was maybe a piece of...
I took to the Riso printing because it has a very unique quality to it. And I actually really love the way that it looks. It has a porous feeling on paper, it really gives a sort of romantic feeling to it. Paranormal Activity is a publication that Erica and I began working on, and it was such a great experience that we've worked together ever since.
Puddle Popper is a Vancouver collective of 4 artists, and they create installations based off of their own work, and they combine their work together. What I like about Puddle Popper is that it allows the viewer to actually interact and basically cut up the project and create their own scene. It has so much potential to be whatever the viewer wants it to be.
I think that her printing work definitely has a style. And when I see that she's done something, even if somebody else has designed it, I can always feel her flavor. For her, the printmaking process is like part of her expression.
Follicle is a collaborative poetry chapbook about entanglement. And so the poet, Verika, lost all of her hair due to alopecia. And so her poems kind of deal with her loss in that sense. I designed the book with Melissa Selesky, the illustrator, to sort of mimic the cycle of loss. It's basically like an endless book. You just keep rotating and going through. So the form is complementing the content of the book. When I start a project, I usually meet with the artist or writer or whoever I'm working with, and we discuss their ideas. Then I will go back to my studio and make some mock-ups and create some ideas.
Piece of paper, and then you're putting like a strip of...
So it's not just me taking someone's work and printing it, it's working with them every step of the way to create something that has a little bit of me in it and a little bit of them.
Erica is like incredibly good at what she does. I am always so open to the materials and the colors that she wants to use or wants to work with. And I appreciate that as well because she knows her materials and she knows her brand, so she's gonna have a better idea than the idea I have coming into the project. And that's also really comforting. Knowing that I have a safe person to work with like Erica, who's like so skilled, made me feel comfortable exploring the medium and also helped me create something beautiful with it so I could maybe be inspired further.
But here, this is where the detail...
After the mock-ups, I will typically design it in InDesign and create the print files. After sort of finalizing what it will be in mock-up form, I will print it, and then there's folding the paper, collating, and then the final trim and the binding. So in 2016, I started a project called Mobile Moniker. My idea was to meet with different print shops and create this project where I could document their studios and collaborate with the printers themselves and learn from them. I met about 14 different print shops. We would just sit down and create something together. Each print shop taught me something different, and each printer, the way that they create and the way that they run their shop, really inspired and taught me so much about how I want to run my print shop. For the past 2 years, I've created a calendar project, which I release every year in October. And it's working with 12 different artists, so each artist creates a different page for every month. It's a chance for the artists to explore Risograph printing. It's also a fundraiser for the publishing work that I do. So the money from the calendar is used directly to create new works in the new year. In the future, I would really love to get some more colors for printing with, so some different ink drums. I also really want to start to focus on creating more of a community around risograph printing in Vancouver and basically making printing accessible for everyone.